What if the fastest animal on Earth isn't fast because of its muscles, but because of everything it refuses to do?
And what if the strongest strike in the entire animal kingdom takes weeks to build and less than a millisecond to spend?
There's a falcon that dives at 240 miles an hour by doing exactly one thing. There is a shrimp that stores a punch like a loaded spring. There is a bat that never forgets who fed it.
And an octopus that makes decisions with its arms before its brain even finds out.
Last episode, we opened 7 case files about systems being hijacked. Today, we flip the file. 5 organisms, not pathologies, blueprints.
The prescription episode. Let's go to work.
Welcome back to the DR.CHICKS Bioeconomic Clinic podcast. I'm Dr. Chicks, bioeconomic surgeon.
And I'm Chicky, your bioeconomic strategist. Episode 3 is officially open.
Quick refresher for new listeners in the clinic. Every biological mechanism that keeps an organism alive has an economic twin already running inside your team, your leadership, your own week.
Nature already ran the experiment. Billions of years of trial and error. We just read the chart.
Episode 2 is about diagnosis, autonomy quietly hijacked by parasites and manipulators. Today is the opposite file. 5 organisms that show you how a healthy system is actually built.
Which brings us to the case file library. The DR.CHICKS series runs 2 shelves side by side. The numbered chapters, mechanical rot, evolutionary atrophy, the decision fracture, the hijacked autonomy, those are the long-form syndromes.
And then there's the case file wing. Shorter files, 1 organism, 1 diagnosis, 1 fix. Dozens of them, each one a standalone protocol you can apply the same afternoon you read it.
Today, we're pulling 5 of the strongest files off that shelf and reading them back to back, because together, they form something bigger than any one of them.
An operating system. Focus, capability, partnership, trust, and decentralization. The 5 layers a team needs running underneath it before any strategy on top of them can work.
Let's start with Layer 1, Focus. Case file 15007. The organism built to do exactly one thing at over 200 miles an hour. The Peregrine Falcon. A peregrine's hunting dive, the stoop, can exceed 240 miles an hour. At that speed, incoming air pressure alone could damage its lungs. So the falcon survives the dive by having almost no capacity to do anything else during it. Eyes locked on exactly one target. Breathing regulated by bony baffles built for exactly one airflow condition. No side quests at 240 miles an hour.
Layer 2, Capability. Case file 002-14. The organism that spends weeks loading a strike that lasts milliseconds. The Peacock Mantis shrimp. Its claw accelerates faster than a .22 caliber bullet leaves the barrel, fast enough to boil the water around it and produce a flash of light. None of that power comes from muscle firing in the moment. It comes from a saddle-shaped spring in the exoskeleton, loaded slowly over time and released all at once. Store first, strike second. Diagnostic classification. Premature discharge syndrome. An organization tries to produce decisive, high-impact execution directly from real-time effort, without ever building the slow-loaded capability that force actually requires. Firm. A strike that impressive was never produced in the moment. It was produced in everything that happened before the moment. If your big launches only run on last-minute intensity, you're skipping the loading phase and wondering why the strike feels weak.
Layer 3, Partnership. Case file 002-13. 2 organisms, opposite strengths, 1 obligate deal. The pistol shrimp digs and maintains an elaborate burrow with a snapping claw powerful enough to stun prey. But its eyesight is too poor to spot an approaching predator. The Goby fish sees perfectly, but can't build a shelter of its own. So they live in constant physical contact. A flick of the Goby's tail warns the shrimp of danger it will never see coming. Neither one survives as well alone as the two do together. Diagnostic classification. Solo specialist syndrome. A person or function with real, deep strengths in one capability is left to also cover a second capability it was never built for, instead of being deliberately paired with the complement.
Layer 4. Trust. Case file 002-12. The organism that tracks every favor it is ever given. The common vampire bat. A vampire bat can starve to death after roughly 70 hours without a blood meal, and on any given night, as many as a third of the adults in a roost fail to feed. They survive anyway because roostmates who received blood before regurgitated back to whoever's hungry now. But it's a tracked ledger, not blind charity. Bats that never reciprocate get gradually cut off from the network. Memory is the entire mechanism. Diagnostic classification, withdrawal-only trust syndrome. Help and favors flow freely in one direction because no one is tracking who is given, who is received, and whether the balance is ever repaid. Track the ledger, or watch your most generous people quietly stop feeding the room.
Layer 5. Decentralization. Case file 15-003. The organism whose limbs decide without waiting for the brain. The common octopus. An octopus carries roughly 500 million neurons, but only about a third of them sit in its central brain. The other 2/3 live in its arms, arranged into semi-autonomous ganglia that sense, decide, and act on their own, even after an arm is physically severed. An arm-up decision architecture. 8 limbs moving through a cluttered world without a single bottleneck controlling every move. Diagnostic classification. Central bottleneck syndrome. Every operational decision, however small, is routed through one person or node instead of being resolved locally by the people already holding the information. Run it by me first is not leadership. It's a nervous system with only one working limb. Push real decision-making down to where the information already lives. So that's the stack. 5 case files, 5 layers, 1 operating system.
Focus like a falcon, so effort actually converts to speed. Load capability like a mantis shrimp, so the strike has something behind it.
Pair complementary strengths like the shrimp and the goby, instead of demanding one generalist do both jobs badly.
Track reciprocity like the vampire bat, so generosity has a memory.
And push decisions out to the arms, like the octopus, instead of routing everything back through one exhausted brain.
None of these 5 are exotic. They're all sitting in the DR.CHCKS case file library right now, each one a full protocol, diagnostic classification, presenting symptoms, and a field-ready fix you can run this week. Grab the individual case files or the full library and start with whichever layer is weakest on your team right now. You already know which one it is.
That's episode 3 of the Dr.CHICKS Bioeconomic Clinic podcast. I'm Dr. Chicks.
And I'm Chicky. Get the case files, the chapters, the workbooks, and the courses at drchicks.com and on Gumroad.
Until then, stay diagnosed.
Next time in the clinic, what happens when a system doesn't break and doesn't get hijacked? It just quietly forgets how to repair itself.